Hi there, I'm LGO, and today we're going to be recording a drawing process for designing a mix of SheRa and the Princesses of Power and a late 1700s ball gown. Let's get started. The important shapes to focus on when sketching out the ball gown are the triangular shape of the bodice and the trapezoidal shape of the skirt. Once you have those defined, you can start working on the stomacher and the split in the front of the skirt. Then drawn in some noodly little arms. They don't have to be exact, they just have to look kind of like arms. The hair we're going for is something like this, and when it comes to drawing the head, face, and hair, I don't really add faces because I'm usually doing some kind of wild historical hair. And when it comes to these details, less is always more. Now, after marking a 3/4 sleeve, I am going to start in on the stomacher. The design for this is going to be inspired by the chest plate on SheRa's armor, with a little heart cut out and everything, and the little blue diamonds. I adore the design work for the SheRa costumes because they're just so fun to draw. And so I'm going in on that split skirt before I get too distracted by ranting about SheRa. Those little bits that I just drew are the armbands that SheRa wears, or the vambraces, I suppose, and some little ruffly cuffs to go along with that. After finishing up the top portion of the drawing in pencil, I switched to a finer pencil lead and started adding my details to the skirt. I've had people ask how I can pull such nice long lines and have them be even in the way I want them to. And honestly, it was an exercise where you literally just draw straight lines over and over again that an art teacher made me do once. And I'm also adding a little choker here. I just wanted an excuse to show this picture, but we're going to draw Catra now. Same process as the last. We start off with a triangular bodice, trapezoidal skirt, 3/4 sleeve, and I showed this clip of me erasing and redrawing because I just couldn't be happy with it. And I figured I'd leave that in. Decided to move on from the bodice and just start working on the skirt instead. Catra doesn't have much details with what she wears, but there is a lot of line work involved, so I decided to add that in and have some little stripes on the underskirt, and also just make sure that it was very bold colors, which coincidentally kind of makes it look boring in black and white. But I moved back up to the bodice and decided to add these little spots that she has on her arms. And then I liked them so much that I decided that they should be the design on the stomacher. And I'm very happy with that decision. This decision does not look as nice, but I realized that Catra wears suits when she dresses formally, so I very quickly sketched a suit version as well. The important shapes to focus on here were the very rectangular cuffs and the flared jacket that's going to come out wide at the back, kind of like a duck. I'm not going to be able to see these jackets as anything but duck-like. It's going to haunt me. Otherwise, this isn't a very complicated design. I didn't have the room to go into a lot of detail because the most detail on these jackets is the intricate embroidery and button work. Because I'm working at such a small scale for this drawing, it's almost impossible to add that much detail. But I did make some squiggles and things just to indicate, and I made sure to add all the buttons where it would be appropriate to have them. I also made sure she has some very 18th century shoes. I also just left her hair in a low ponytail because I loved when she wore that ponytail, and also it's kind of accurate to the era to have a ponytail, so we're going to leave it at that and call it historically accurate. And now the fun part where I get to turn my brain off and just trace it with ink. I'm very tired. I'm sorry about that. Like I mentioned earlier, less is more. Filling in shapes too deeply can really confuse the human eye, and most of the time, if you just give us a suggestion of a shape, our brain fills in the rest for us. Like with these ruffles, they're really just squiggly lines with a little bit of dashes, but people know that it means ruffles. Do be careful when doing stripes and things across ruffles though, because you want to make sure that they match up to the folds. Oh, I love doing the ink work. Once again, less is more. Don't fill in the hair with strands. Just do some little here and there suggestions of hair. It does not have to be the most complicated thing. Ooh, and now it's time for colors. So when I do colors, I like to make sure that I have a palette set out to the side of what I'm drawing, so I just test the pencils on the side of the paper, and it also helps remind me just what the cohesive look I'm going for is. Because the majority of this dress is white, I'm just going in with a gray pencil and adding shadows, and I'm letting the white do its work on the paper. Then I'm working lightest to darkest with my shades of yellow. That way I don't overpower immediately with the dark yellow, and I only use that for shadow. And I'm also making sure that the gold tries to stand out. It's hard to do metallic, really, but you know, we can try. And with Catra, the trick is that there is so little color here, there's just black and red really, that I wanted to make certain parts of the black pop. So I drew some of it really, really hard, and then went softer on other parts and tried to make it look almost like a shiny taffeta fabric by going in very light and then going back in very dark and just making all these interesting shadows and bright spots to try and get that shiny fabric feel. I'm also going back in with a lighter red first and then a darker red on top of that, same as I did with the yellows, and kind of the same concept as the white as well. You just really want it to pop, so you start with the lightest, work your way darker as you go. Otherwise, it's just gonna get very bad very fast. And I'm doing the same thing to the red as I did for the black. I'm just making it look kind of shiny. It wasn't as good as the other one. And I'm gonna apologize straight out the gate for this one because I decided to do this suit kind of last minute, and so I had already been drawing for a long time. I was just kind of done for the day, so I didn't even really try to employ any tricks or effort. I just colored this. But hey, you know, get in touch with your inner child every once in a while. Grab a coloring page, do your thing, relax. I mean, if you can't color as an adult, what are you doing with your life? Same as the other one, I'm going in with the light red first and then the dark red afterwards. And I'm also going to go back in with the black off camera and darken up some of it because I was unhappy with how gray everything was looking. Yeah, this is just not an impressive drawing, but it's not a bad design. I'd love a fully red suit with all the black details. It'd look very haunting, I think. Also, I'm quite proud of how the shoes came out, because I think they look like the correct era. So I'm going to be proud of that, and I'm going to leave it at that. Try to say some positive things. Leave it on a good note, you know? I'm running out of things to say about this drawing. Oh, thank goodness we're done. Alright, thanks for suffering through that with me. I hope you like the designs. I definitely have a clear favorite and a clear least favorite, but I'm very happy with how they came out, and I hope you enjoyed watching the process of how I design dresses, especially how I can combine modern media with historical styles. I'm Art by LGO on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Patreon. The QR code leads to my Linktree. Thank you for visiting my corner of the internet, and have a lovely day.